Hi, I'm the Moonlit Page Turner. Grab your treat, grab your tea. Let's talk books. For this month's read, we are traveling to the Caribbean, and in particular, we are going to visit the island of Antigua. I said it wrong in the previous video, but we're learning. So it's pronounced Antigua. It looks like Antigua, but it's pronounced Antigua and Barbuda. They are two islands in the Caribbean. They are part of Christopher Columbus's second voyage. So he did land in Antigua. There were obviously people living there before he arrived, but that's kind of where we see some of the names come from. And then after Christopher Columbus, it ended up becoming a sugar plantation that was a colony of the English. And our book today is called Unburnable. It's by Marie-Elena John, and she is originally from Antigua, but although she spends a lot of time in the United States. So her book is written in English, it's not translated. And it takes place largely in the United States, is where we start with Lillian. And then they travel to Dominica, which is an island that's actually south of Antigua. And that's where most of the book takes place. Now, this is a little bit of a rough ride, so there are quite a few trigger warnings that come with this book, and we will get into that shortly. Before we jump into our book for this month, let's try our treat. Now, there was a lot of options that I had when I was looking for food from Antigua, and one of the more dessert type or treat type options was fudge. I've made fudge before, don't get me wrong, it's great, I love it. But part of the series is trying out new foods from places that I haven't been before. So I decided to make the recipe fungee, and it's this thing right here. It is cornmeal and okra, and the recipe will be below. So that's pretty much it. It's cornmeal, okra, and salt. So there's not a whole lot of flavor to it. So you want to make sure that it's not a treat that you want to eat on its own, that you have it with something that has a little bit more flavor. Traditionally, it's paired with fish or barbecue or chicken. So I have some chicken here that I'm going to take a bite with. I don't think I've actually ever said this before, but I'm a vegetarian, and so a lot of these meals that I'm looking for are vegetarian friendly. So I have vegetarian chicken. So it's got a cornmeal consistency. It's rather kind of smooth though, and I'm just going to attach it. So it is pretty good. I like it. Again, it's not a whole lot of flavor. I think if I were to make it again, maybe instead of the okra, I would try jalapenos to give it a little bit more flavor on its own. But it's not bad. I actually really like it. The story of Unburnable by Marie-Elena John is a story about generational trauma. We have three stories that are intertwined with one, and they are the stories of the daughter, who's Lillian, and she is our main character, her mother, Iris, and then Lillian's grandmother, Matilda. And we get a little bit of Iris's and Matilda's story as Lillian is seeking for answers about her past and about the past of her family. So there are some trigger warnings that come with this book. There is essay as well as some domestic violence and murder as well. Lillian knows some history. She was sent away from the Dominica as a teenager. So she was 14 when she started hearing stories about her mother and her grandmother. She was not fully told the truth. It was kind of kept from her. And so as an adult, she decides to go back to Dominica to find the answers about her past. And she does that with the help of one of her friends who might be a little bit more than friends. So there's a little bit of romance in here as well. The story of Matilda is a story about murder. So again, there's some trigger warnings. What happens to Iris, which is Lillian's mother, is awful and it was really hard for me to read. I have mixed feelings about this book, to be honest. I liked it actually more than I thought I would, but it was really hard for me to read. Things about essay are just hard for me to read in general. I know they're not great for everyone, but they were very visual and explained. And the other thing that I'm still not quite sure how I feel about is the ending. When I finished the book, I was kind of upset and was like, that's it, that's the ending. I don't like that. I think that John did a good job of being true to her characters. And that sometimes is hard to do as writers because you want to tie it up with a bow. You want to have that ending and you want your characters to have a win. But this, in particular, the ending fell kind of short for me and I was really disappointed. I wished more for Lillian and I was sad. So I'm not going to get into too much specifics because if this is something that sounds interesting to you, again, the writing was really great. John does a really good job of having descriptions and bringing environments to life. But there was some things that were just hard for me to read in here, as well as I felt the ending was unsatisfying. But the story of the three women and Lillian's search for truth I found to be really interesting. So I did like that part of it. And I found it to be a different story than I'm used to reading and interesting, but this wasn't for me. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Next month, we're going to be traveling to Argentina with Things We Lost in the Fire. If you are interested in what we are reading or what country is coming up next, you can join us on Goodreads as well as Instagram. See you then.